From the Chatterbox Sports Studio in Hamilton, Ohio, this is Not Too Picky with Paul Fritchner.
Let's go. I love the intro music, and this is the debut episode of Not Too Picky with Paul Fritchner. As John Moses said, the voice of the Altoona Curve. This is live from the Chatterbox Sports Studios from Hamilton, Ohio. The producer over there, Casey McAllister. We have Brandon Seho with us. We're going to have Reed Mouse on in this show. We have a great guest in Tim Murray. This is a loaded first show with you, and we're going to get into all of that right now. The show is going to be running at 2 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays right now. That's the tentative schedule of this show. Not Too Picky, again, from here in Hamilton, and I could not be more excited to really get into this Southwest Ohio sports gambling landscape. If you know me, then you know that I perfectly fit the mold of that mid-20s guy with a love for sports betting. I've dabbled in it. I've talked about it. You tweet about it a little bit. Do you want to tweet about it a lot? Do you want to go back and forth? Do you really want to dive head first? Well, that's what we are doing on this show now. We're getting right into it with sports gambling, and especially sports gambling in Southwest Ohio. You can follow the show at Not Too Picky on Twitter. That's NOTTOO Picky, so spelling it all out. And then you can follow me at Paul Fritchner. It's going to be available on all podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Anywhere that you can find podcasts, you'll be able to listen to Not Too Picky. Those will be available probably in the next couple of days as they all get added onto the platforms once I upload today's episode. Let's talk a little bit about how this show is going to work, right? 2 episodes a week. There's a lot of games going on, as we all know, all day long, everywhere around the world. So you got 2 episodes a week to break it all down. We're going to focus on Southwest Ohio. I teased that in the beginning. The first segment of each show, which will be broken down into 3 segments, is going to talk about Southwest Ohio. So if you think about it, where we're sitting in Hamilton, which is about a half hour, 40 minutes north of Cincinnati, right around this area, you have Dayton to the north of us. You have Miami of Ohio a little bit to the west of us. You have Wright State. You have Xavier. You have Cincinnati. You also have FC Cincinnati. You have the Reds. You have the Bengals. You have Northern Kentucky. A little bit to the east, you have Ohio State. A little bit to the west, you have IU. You have Butler. You have Purdue, Fort Wayne. You have Notre Dame and Indiana. All of these teams around this area that we are going to focus on, but especially here in Southwest Ohio, between Miami and Dayton, Wright State, all of them, all the way down to Northern Kentucky, and then even down into the Wildcats down later. So that's all going to be in the first segment of the show here in this intro. Then in the second segment of the show, we're going to have interviews. I'm going to bring on professionals from around the sports gambling landscape. I like to think of myself as a professional, but I don't know. I think we'll let the results of these episodes play out, and we'll see how professional I am. But we're going to try our best. And so that interview, which today will feature Tim Murray, who is the primetime host of the VSiN Network. He hosts that show alongside Sean King, who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback from back in 2003, was on that Bucs team. He was a third-string quarterback back on that Bucs team that won the Super Bowl in the early 2000s. Sean and Tim host that show together. Tim's been a great help to me in starting this show, and I thought who none better to have on as the first guest for the show. Tim Murray will be joining us. He'll talk Bengals. He'll talk the college football slate for this weekend. And I'll tell you what, I put Tim on the spot. I asked him, if we're going to have a first guest of this show, we got to have a winner. So I asked him for one winner, and he turned around and he kind of gave us, I think, 3 winners, maybe, fellas. I think if we're trying to make some money for this weekend, I think he may have given us 3. He gave us, you know what he did? He gave us 2 leans and a winner. And Chatterbox co-founder Trace Fowler, who's sitting out behind the wall right behind us, I'm sure Trace is going to absolutely love the winner that Tim Murray gave us. So you can listen to all of that later on in the show. So that's how this is all going to work. You can listen to it. You subscribe, podcast platforms everywhere. And the other big thing that I'm going to count on, and I have it right here pulled up in front of us. I have, if you know me, you know how important a High C orange is to me, my personal brand and my personality. So I have that alongside me. But I also have the YouTube chat pulled up to the right of me. I see a lot of you are very active here starting this show today. And here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do with the YouTube chat. I'm going to ask for a winner. I love social media. I love YouTube. I love how the internet works. It's just how I roll. I'm going to look at this YouTube chat at the beginning of every show. I'm going to ask all of you that are watching this show to figure out a winner. Just amongst yourselves, argue back and forth, do whatever you want to do. But you all, amongst yourselves, have to figure out a winner to give me by the end of the show. Now, you guys are about, 90 seconds or so probably. What do you think, Casey? About 90 seconds behind?
Yeah, they're about 90 seconds behind.
About 90 seconds behind what I'm saying right now. So when you're in this chat, about 3 minutes left in the show, I'll look at this chat, and I will take the pick that the chat gives me. Every show, I will take the pick. Whatever you all agree on in this chat, I'll take it, and we'll see if collectively we can be a good gambling show together, because it's not just me. This is a team effort. We're all in this together, right, Casey?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, the people know. They know what they're talking about, man.
I know that I have intelligent listeners on this program, and I know I have intelligent viewers.
Absolutely.
So to everybody watching and listening, make sure you get in this YouTube chat. Make sure you hit me up in this chat, and we can go through our winners together. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because not only on this channel, you'll have this show, you'll have every other show that we produce here at Chatterbox, all of our content coming out through this YouTube channel, so you make sure you do that as well. Is there anything as far as administration and cleanup that I have not hit in the first 6 minutes of this episode, Casey?
No, I think you're good to go, man.
Okay.
I mean, I think we've hit it.
Well,
all the different.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't tease how this show got its name, right? So you're sitting there, you're thinking to yourself, okay, what am I listening to? Why am I listening to this? And I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Tom Wilkinson he was a Xavier graduate, and he is now at the University of Connecticut, who took care of the graphic design for this show. Love the header. Love that. Love what we have here graphic design-wise. So thank you to Tom. But Casey and I were sitting at lunch about a month ago, and we were going through names for this show, and we were thinking to ourselves, okay, what do we want to call this show? And I'm just going back and forth. I'm thinking, do I want to do something with the Queen City? Do I want to do something with Ohio? Do I want to pitch myself something that narrows me into the Southwest Ohio geographic region? I'm throwing names out. Left and right. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And then I think to myself, man, I'm just getting overwhelmed. And as I'm sitting there eating my overpriced quesarito, I say to myself, well, you know what? Maybe I just can't really be too picky with all this. And Casey looked at me and he said, well, what if you just called it that? I said, well, Casey, what do you mean? And he said, well, you can't be too picky. We shortened it, and Not Too Picky is what we came up with. Not Too Picky is the name of this program. You have all these stats, you have all these analytics, you have all these reasons why we bet these games. We bet because of whatever reason we feel like we can convince ourselves that this pick is a winner. I'm going to ask everybody to give me 1, 2, maybe 3 reasons of why they feel like this is the winner. This is why I got to put my hard-earned American currency. Hey, you know what? I say American currency. Maybe we have a worldwide audience here. Maybe we have people betting in euros. Why I'm going to put my money, my wages, on whatever I tell you to do or the chat tells you to do in this show. So that's the name of the show. We got all that behind us. Let's get into it. The first segment of the day, we're going to start off things with the Bengals. I'm not going to talk too much about the Bengals here because we talk about it more as this show goes on with Tim Murray. Bengals opened up as 6.5-point favorites. They jumped up to around 8. Now they're settling around 7, 7.5, depending on where you look. I personally just don't see a ton of value in that touchdown. Now, if it gets below the key number of a touchdown, if it gets down to that 6, 6.5 range, then maybe you start thinking about taking the Bengals. I don't know if I would take them above that 7 or 7.5 key number, but we'll let Tim talk more about that as this show goes along. Switch from the Bengals, we're now going to go to the Reds. And where do you find value in the Reds right now? They just got swept by the Pirates. They're not scoring a ton of runs. The total tonight in St. Louis for the Reds is 8. What I will say, and this is a regret, if you're going to take a total here, I would probably lean toward the over. St. Louis's starter has, I think, a 5+ ERA in his last 7 starts. One thing that I very much regret, and I know that I have a couple of Cardinals listeners into this show. I have a couple of Cardinals listeners that I see in the chat that may agree or disagree with me. I probably agree. I very much regret, even if it was just for the pure entertainment value of it, Barstool Sportsbook put a prop bet up about 3 or 4 weeks ago for Albert Pujols to hit 700 home runs. This was, I think, when he had 693 or somewhere in that range. I very much regret the ride that I would have been on over the last month and a half of the regular season, not taking Pujols to hit 700 home runs. For 2 reasons, I regret not taking that bet. One is because he's now past A-Rod, and I think he's at 690. Is he at 697? Is he at 696 or 697? I think he's at 697. I think he's 3 away. But with about 20 games left, it feels like he hit 2 in 2 days the other day. It feels like he is. It feels like he's right on the precipice of it. But the other reason that I kind of regret not taking Pujols to hit 700 home runs is I was looking at the top 100 MLB home run, the active leaders in the MLB the other day. We are nowhere even close to having another 700 home run hitter maybe for the next 15 or 20 years. You look at some of the guys that are active and maybe Mike Trout, but see, Mike Trout's getting up there in age. Low-key, you don't really think about it. Mike Trout's been around. He's in year 12. He's been around for a long time, and he's over halfway there, but I just don't know. I think he's right around the halfway point. He's right around the that 350 number, but you know, maybe Mike Trout goes into the latter stages of his career and does what Pujols is doing right now and mashing in his last season, getting in close to that number. I regret not being along for the ride to see the 4th player in MLB history get to 700 home runs. I just think that that's something that we may not see again for a really, really long time. You look at Juan Soto, he's probably on pace. You could argue Machado. But Machado, he's getting a little up there too. He's been hurt. So where are you going to get 700 home runs? We'll see. But that bet was up there. I think it was like plus 1050 for Pujols to get to 700. And I guess then the question becomes, as Trace Fowler points out in the chat, he lands on 699. Is he really not going to come back? I don't know if he is. I think he's done. What did he do? You bring him back for a week, he hits 1 home run, and he's gone? No. I think he's done, and then the St. Louis, the best fans in baseball, they are sorely disappointed. All right, one more thing to talk about here before we get into our interview. Let's talk FC Cincinnati. Let's talk about FC Cincinnati. Casey McAllister over here, our producer.
This is going to be the first time we've talked about it since starting these shows, and I love it, mainly because last week FCC – I think it was last week, they finally managed to get out of the negative in goal differential, and they're starting to get hot. So I'm hoping that the more and more we talk about this, that the more they start doing better and better. So continue on with your show. Continue.
Well, we're going to give FC Cincinnati some love here. Last year, FC Cincinnati was legitimately the freest money that you could find in a sports betting market. They were an automatic fade every single time they took the pitch. I mean, historically bad. If you needed money to pay a bar tab on the weekend, if you just needed some quick cash, you know, it's the 877 cash now. That was FC Cincinnati last year. It didn't matter who they were playing, who their opponent was. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory last year better than any team I can ever remember. If you are still thinking that that's what FC Cincinnati is, then I got a bridge to sell you, because you are sorely mistaken and misinformed, and they are a team that has turned it around. We're talking about a team that now, just a year later, they have all kinds of momentum. They haven't lost since July 17th. Now, they have 6 draws in that span, okay? So it's not like they've won every match since July 17th. But this is a team now that's in a position for the postseason with 4 matches remaining in the regular season. And, Casey, you are a massive FC Cincinnati fan. So do you have anything that you'd like to contribute on this end to FC Cincinnati, or how they've performed lately?
You know, I would just like to say that our front, our offense, our attackers are probably some of the best in MLS. It's what they really struggle with is just defense and getting back. And to me, it's a problem with them being not clutch when they need to be clutch on the defensive side. Our offense just continually scores and scores and scores. So much so, I'm afraid that we might not be able to keep all of them at some point. We're going to probably lose a few to whatever free agency comes around. But I would love to see what you're proposing here for this week for the FCC. What is the bet here?
All right, so they're going to be in Salt Lake City this weekend. First times these teams have played this year. FCC's plus 250 on the road on the money line. It's a 3-way money line. That's how you do it in soccer, 3-way money line. So you bet FCC or Real Salt Lake or the draw. Salt Lake is in a playoff spot in the West. I think they're in the last playoff spot in the West. You could take the plus 250 for Cincinnati, which I don't hate, or you do what I'm going to suggest here, and you take the over 2.5 combined goals for the match. It's juiced. It's heavily juiced. It's at minus 145 right now. So I can see where you say maybe the value isn't there at minus 145. But if you get over 3.5 goals, you get into plus money, and you don't really see that there either. FCC has scored at least 2 goals in their last 3. They scored 6 goals in their last match, which was at home. Were you there, Casey?
I was not there, but man, that game was just awesome to watch. Even on the couch, it's. We don't get to see very many games like that in MLS, period. I actually looked at it not too long ago. I think that's like maybe the 15th game that they've had in MLS history that's had 6 goals scored for one team. So just to put it in perspective how great that game was last week, and the fact that you mentioned that they've scored more than 2 goals in the last 6 games for them, I mean – like I said before, their offense is just too good to not at least get 2 goals.
Yeah. So I'm going to buy high here. I'm going to ride the wave, and I'm going to buy high. I'm going to say that FCC can get us 2, which then leaves it in the hands of Salt Lake City. Can they get us 1? They have not scored a lot in their last few matches. In fact, I don't know if they've scored. I'd have to go back and look. I know they've been held scoreless in multiple matches in their last few. So can Salt Lake get us 1, and that would push us over the top. But that's something that I would look at. That game is in Salt Lake City on Saturday. On Saturday here in the city, you're going to have Cincinnati playing Miami of Ohio. That's going to be down at Paycor Stadium. Oktoberfest is this weekend down in Cincinnati. It is a busy, busy weekend of activities down here in the Cincinnati area. A lot of fun going on around here. So now to talk about more of what's going on at Paycor Stadium, but as it relates to the Bengals, I'm going to kick it over to my good friend, Tim Murray, the co-host of VSiN Prime Time from Las Vegas. He's doing this interview out of the Circa Studios, the best. I went and visited Tim this summer at these studios, and I'm telling you what, this is a gambler's paradise. You'll be able to see it in the background of this interview when Tim joins us here. So we're going to go to a break, and we will be back with Tim Murray on the other side of it, and then Reed Mouse on the other side of Tim. You're listening to Not Too Picky on Chatterbox Sports.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Welcome on Tim Murray, the now co-host of VSiN Prime Time. You're from 6 to 9 Eastern Time out there in Las Vegas. You're sitting in the Circa Sportsbook right now. I'm sitting in Hamilton, Ohio. You have a fantastic backdrop, Tim. Just take us through here what we're looking at for people that haven't been there. I was lucky enough to visit you this summer, but that is just the best-looking sportsbook in the world for my money, right?
Yeah, can't complain. And as you see kind of over the shoulder, I'll get out of the way here for just a moment. There's the odds board that all the odds are on here in Las Vegas, and 19 screens if you want. Come here on a Saturday or Sunday, and not a bad vantage point. So can't complain each and every day when I come in here to do my show. But it is truly a paradise for not only sports bettors, but just sports fans, just taking everything in. And then, if you want to go outside and check out Stadium Swim, you could do so as well. More of kind of a day club atmosphere there. But no, it's incredible. Pinch myself as you see kind of over my shoulder right now, day baseball going on. And then you can just use your imagination what a Saturday and Sunday looks like here at Circa.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And people can listen to you for free on VSiN.com, or they can watch you on YouTube TV all over the place. You're with Sean King still on your show, so you guys are there every night, every weeknight. But I want to say thanks, first of all, to get this going, that you're the first guest on this show that hopefully will get some traction to it. So thanks. I know that you and I have talked a lot about this show, and I appreciate you coming on and being my first guest. So thanks for taking the time here today, Tim. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely, Paul. No, I'm fired up for you and the network to get rolling there. And the more and more gambling content that's out there is a great thing in my mind. It's, a little bit of my background was baseball first, and then just general sports talk, and then getting into the sports gambling discussion side of things. But, it's becoming incredibly popular. Anywhere you look, odds are out there. So the more you can kind of educate people and just off of the inner workings of gambling, not necessarily, hey, give me a pick, give me a winner, all of that, which I know people want, but just understanding some of the basics of it. So when you go into it and you want to throw down whatever you feel comfortable throwing down, there are quality content. So fired up for you and the network over there in Ohio to get things rolling.
Yeah, well, I am going to ask you for a winner here in a minute, but we'll push that toward the end. What I do want to talk to you right now about, and because I've just talked about it before with the Bengals, but the Bengals, Tim, as it relates here to Southwest Ohio, you turn the ball over 5 times in that game on Sunday, and you still give your team a chance to win the ball game. And then all of a sudden you come out, and you're going to be playing a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush this weekend, and you come out as more than a touchdown favorite. So I want to ask you, specifically as it relates to the Bengals, but maybe as it relates to the NFL as a whole, and just NFL betting in general when you're looking stylistically at how you want to attack a game. How much, Tim, do you read into how much a line shifts from week 1 to week 2 in the NFL season? Because going into week 1, you have all summer to bet. The lines move all summer. It finds a little niche. But from week 1 to week 2, you only have a couple of days in there for things to shift around. So how much do you read into a poor or a good performance from week 1 to week 2, and how you all in Vegas talk about these games?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and for me, it's kind of like stocks at a time. Can you buy low or can you sell high? What did people see? So for the Bengals, maybe a little bit different there locally, but nationally, what is the perception? It's the Super Bowl runner-up hangover. This team isn't ready. But as you pointed out, Paul, look inside the box score. Don't just look at things vanilla. It was a 23-20 loss in overtime, and we all know, the missed extra point and the missed field goal. But you mentioned it, the turnovers. You look at sustainability, whether it's being too many turnovers or you're getting a lot of turnovers. All those things generally come back to meet in the middle. And I think that's the biggest thing to making an adjustment. So, what were those overreactions from week 1 to week 2? I do think if you can take a look at some of those, summer lines, those are usually pretty tight. How did those move? And now, outside of injuries, which obviously the Cowboys are dealing with, the loss of a starting quarterback, which is a massive loss, is this a spot where the Cincinnati Bengals are looked at as, maybe a buy low opportunity? I would say, unfortunately, because of the Dak Prescott injury, Paul, this isn't a buy low opportunity on the Bengals because, you got Cooper Rush coming in, and in his limited, time on the field on Sunday night, he did not look the part as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, so the Bengals open somewhere around 8. They're at 7.5-point favorites right now, and the total's at 41.5. There's not really, it feels like, a whole lot of value there either way on the Bengals, because if you're looking at it, like you said, you're playing a backup quarterback, but you're going on the road, and you're getting more than a touchdown. Part of what we're doing here on this show and what I want to do is, as you said in the very beginning, educate people not just on what you're doing and how to manage your money, but also what some of these smart tactics are. And I think there's none better way to do this than doing it in the first interview. I think a lot of beginning bettors look at that 7.5-point line and they think to themselves, okay, well, I'm going to buy down, right? I'm going to take that half point and I'm going to get to 7 because that's a touchdown. That's the magic number. Tim, I'll give you the floor here. Why should or probably should not people do that?
Yeah, I would say more so in college football. There's so much volatility. So I have this discussion a lot on my show. And look, this isn't me saying this. This is people who have been doing it a long time. So I'll start college, we'll go to the NFL.
Sure.
Buying points comes at a price. And you got to think about this thing long term. Over the long term, ultimately, are you going to profit from paying an extra price buying that point? So when you buy from, let's say, 2.5 to 3, that's going to be about 20 cents. So normal VIG is minus 110. Most spots are going to charge you about 20 cents from get to one of the biggest key numbers in the NFL, which is 3. So, I always be cautious buying points. I will say this, though. You look at the line this week, I'll tell you right now, Paul, Cincinnati will be a very, very popular teaser leg. And here's why. Yeah. Because it's at 7.5 and it's a very low total, you're getting a little bit more value on the points that you're getting. So usually juice on a 2-team 6-point teaser is minus 120. So you're paying a little bit extra, but you're getting the opportunity to use 6 points for both games. And when you have a low total like 41.5, those points are more valuable than, for instance, a total of, let's say, 54.5. So when you look at Cincinnati and Dallas and you buy that down to 1.5, you're getting through the key numbers of 7, 4, and 3, all very important numbers in the NFL. So when you're looking at teaser legs, what are you getting through? Whether it be up or down. Never tease through 0, because if you tease through 0, that's a number that's dead, right? You're not using anything. A game can't land 0. I guess it did last week, technically. Indianapolis.
Almost did for the Bengals. Almost probably should have done for the Bengals.
But yeah, you look at, another game that might be an interesting one for people to use. Washington on the road at Detroit. This was maybe a bit of an overreaction to a performance in week 1. That game open pick is now 1.5. You get Washington up to 7.5. So I will say, teasers are certainly something that I know a lot of people utilize. It gives you that little flexibility. And I personally wouldn't tease college football. Like I said, there's so much volatility. And you can almost tell, Paul, when the books are okay with you doing something. So over the years here in Las Vegas, different books have changed the prices on 2-team teasers. They've gone from minus 110 to minus 120. Some books, the one I'm sitting at is minus 125. But if you go to tease a college football game, it's usually your standard minus 110 because they don't really worry about those 6 points being all that important. I know it's fun to do, the money line parlays, which I'm sure a lot of people will do, and I'm sure the Bengals will be in plenty of those this week too. So yeah, it depends ultimately what you want to do, right, Paul? Do you want to, have a fun 5-leg parlay that those things are glorified on social media all the time? It's kind of like a lottery ticket. I'm not going to say don't do those, but if you're trying to, make money over the long haul, it's a grind. And you're going to have your ups and your downs, but if you kind of stick to your, the mathematical values, you're going to be okay over a long term if you're making the right move, not buying points all the time.
Yeah, and Neil Greenberg wrote an article in the Washington Post. I don't know if you read that article about some of the basics with teasers and with buying points and whatever. And it's like you don't want to buy just from going to 4 to 5.5. It's almost like if you're going to buy from 4 to 5, you might as well just go to 6.5. Get yourself a little bit of an extra value there to get into that touchdown. But yeah, I think you're spot on with all of that. And you threw in a little extra pick there with Washington too. I want to talk a little college here too. Before I ask you for a winner, and I am going to put you on the spot for that one. But BYU and Oregon. BYU right now, 3.5-point underdogs at Oregon. And you listen to what people are talking about with BYU and how their schedule is setting up. You get a big win over Baylor at home this past weekend in double overtime without two of your best receivers on that team. But the reason I want to talk about this game is because BYU is one of those teams that almost sets up like Cincinnati last year, where if they win this game on the road at Oregon, you could argue that they, at the end of the season, if they run the table, might have the resume to make the college football playoff. I don't think that's crazy to say. They're 3.5-point underdogs on the road. Do you see value in a plus 150 money line there for BYU, or is that not big enough for you, Tim?
I don't personally, and I want to I'm glad you brought this game up. This is a perfect scenario. And look, nobody's got the perfect system. BYU is a very good football team, and they are very capable of winning this game. But you mentioned the loss of Gunnar Romney, which sounds like he's going to be out again, and Puka Nacua, another one of their top wide receivers. They were out last weekend at home against Baylor, and they were able to stem the tide and win that game in double overtime. Probably shouldn't even went to double overtime. A couple late missed field goals by BYU, but they're able to get the win in double OT 26-20. Important to some, especially because that game landed.
They wanted to kill us with that over. They wanted it. They kept stringing us along.
I'll say this about that Oregon BYU game, and this is kind of a theory that I've rolled with for many, many years. You know, when it seems too good to be true, more oftentimes it is. So BYU just beat a top 10 team in Baylor, and now they're a higher ranked team than Oregon, and yet they're a 3.5 or 4-point underdog in some spots here in Las Vegas. What have we seen from Oregon? Well, we saw them get absolutely embarrassed on national television by 46 points to Georgia. Nobody watched last week when they played, an FCS opponent. I think this is a really good opportunity to buy low. And I think we mentioned those look-ahead lines, those game of the year lines. There really hasn't been much movement from the summer. So in the eyes of odds makers, nothing has really changed with this Oregon and BYU game. I would say this would be a very popular dog play, BYU going on the road. And, BYU had some youngsters step up, which I was really impressed by last weekend. But now they're going on the road against Oregon, a very hostile environment. For Autzen Stadium, I think I would have preferred this to be a night game there, maybe to get an extra little bit of juice there. But Bo Nix also historically has played pretty poorly on the road at his career at Auburn, but has thrived at home. And this is an opportunity at home for Bo Nix to take care of business. So I actually don't like BYU in this spot. I would lean towards the Ducks taking care of business and covering the 3.5 on Saturday afternoon at Autzen.
All right. Well, now to wrap this up here, Tim, I'm going to ask you for a winner. And this show here, one of the ideas with this show, I explained it at the top of the show in the opening segment, but one of the things that I want to do in this show is you don't want to get bogged down too much into the weeds, right? That's the whole idea behind the name of it being not too picky, right? You sometimes you get lost in all these stats and the analytics and everything else, and sometimes you just want to have fun. You want to look at a pick. You want to say, give me one reason why I should bet this game. Do you have something between now and our next show on Monday that you can say, hey, look, Paul, I feel I'm your first guest on this show. I feel good about this one before Monday. No, there's no pressure here, but you are the first guest picker on this show, so I'll take a winner.
No pressure. There are a couple games that intrigue me.
Right.
I'll just throw those out. Those won't be the official play here.
I like it. More value.
I took Tulane plus 14.5 in a potential look-ahead spot for Kansas State. Kansas State plays on the road at Oklahoma next week, so that's one to look at. Bowling Green intrigues me. That's gone through a key number of 17, but Bowling Green, after losing the 7 OT thriller against Eastern Kentucky, which was a dagger to me because I have over 3.5 wins on the Falcons. But now they're playing Marshall, coming off that Notre Dame upset. So that game intrigues me. Bowling Green catching the 16.5. But I'm going to go to a spot, and your listeners might think I'm crazy. But that's kind of the way I roll here in these particular spots. Now, this has been a line that's been on the move. I'm going to go with Nebraska catching 11.5 against Oklahoma. This is a spot where everyone thinks that Nebraska is just going to be awful, and they're not going to be able to keep it close. Well, they kept it close with Oklahoma last year. They were 4-1 ATS as an underdog last year. The number on Scott Frost was that he was 5-23 in one-possession games. Well, if it's a one-possession game, guess what? You'd cover this opportunity on Saturday afternoon. This game is in Lincoln, and then I mentioned the look-ahead lines. Look-ahead line, Game of the Year lines that were released here in Las Vegas had Oklahoma as a 3-point favorite. That line is now 11 or 11.5. So we'll see what Mickey Joseph can do in his first game as the head coach, interim, that is, at Nebraska. Oklahoma, I'm high on them to an extent. I do think they have a good chance to win the conference. They are the favorite to do so, but this is a road environment. First road opportunity for Brent Venables as the head coach of Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel, Jeff Levy, the offensive coordinator there. I like them, but I think this game is close. I think Nebraska does have an outside chance to win this game, but I will take the Corn plus the 11.5, Paul, on Saturday.
It's Corn, and Tim Murray loves it. Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm sure at some point down the road we'll have you back on. This was great. And thanks for being the first guest on Not Too Picky. I really appreciate it.
You bet. And when Oklahoma wins by 50, I'll make sure never to come back on the show.
Thanks, Tim.
See ya.
All right.
The time is now. Football season is back here in the Queen City, and Week 1, St. X versus Lakota West. DJ Train here with Chatterbox. It's about to go down. It's our... It's on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Man, I'm telling you, this game is...
First game, bro.
My first one. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better first one because Lakota West struggling a lot throughout the first half and beginning of second half, and then
Big time.
it's a party, it's a party, it's a party.
I know one thing. Ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
Yeah, this atmosphere was insane. Show was on point. Everybody had a great time for the first one, too, bringing people together. Big shout out to everybody tonight that worked hard from Chatterbox and everywhere else to put on a great show.
This dude's legit.
And he's sweating, so you know he's legit.
Welcome back in here into the Chatterbox studio, and we are live, and I am sitting now next to my good friend, Reed Mouse. Reed, you're going to be a regular here on the third segment of this show, and it is just an absolute delight to have you sitting next to me.
Are we friends?
I think we're friends.
I don't know if we ever got to that point.
Did we?
I mean, we've never addressed like what we are.
We didn't establish what we
No,
were.
no, not at all. But we're here regardless.
Well, regardless, you know what you can do if you want to establish that we're friends, you can give me some winners. And
winners.
Reed, before he walked into this studio, told me that he had some winners for me. Mm-hmm. Now, Reed, as the mayor of Hamilton, Ohio.
That's Pat Moeller, but I'm gunning for the spot. Gunning for it.
Are you launching your candidacy here?
Well, the last guy who ran against him I think Pat Moeller got like 30,000 votes, and the guy who he ran against got like 100. So, yeah,
all right.
I got to do better.
All right. Reed, let's get into some winners here. Let's roll off the top. Casey, can you hear Reed? I can hear. You can hear
Good.
Reed? Okay, I'm having a little trouble.
Yeah, I can't hear myself. But
okay. Oh, there we go. Now I can hear Reed.
Baby, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Is Brandon over there? Is
Brandon Seho? Can you see us over there? There's Brandon.
Well,
there's Brandon.
He doesn't even
Oh, okay.
Well, good.
Yeah, he's just going to have to scream if he wants to say anything.
He'll muddy up the waters anyways. Well, what do you want to talk about?
All right, Reed. Reed, you know
it's
what?
his show.
All right, let's get back to the show here. Let's get right into some winners. What do you have for me?
So you want winners. I don't know if I'll have that. I like to gamble more than I like to win.
Okay.
So that's where
we
we're
always
at.
gamble responsibly.
Right, absolutely. But, let's talk about tonight's game. Let's go ahead and let's start
let's get
that.
right into it. I do have a pick for tonight's game.
So, one thing that I'm looking at, you talk about the Chargers, you talk about the Chiefs, big game. The Chargers' defensive line, right?
Okay.
Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, they're going to be bringing a lot of pressure towards Patrick Mahomes. I know they look so good. But you know what I really like? I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting rushing and receiving over 66. I know that's a somewhat big number.
Okay.
But it's a combination because here's what I think they're going to do.
Okay.
To combat the pressure that they're going to be getting on the edge, they're going to be running it up the middle, and they're going to be checking down to their running back.
Okay.
He had, I think, a combined 80 rushing and receiving yards in week 1. I think he's going to be a big part of this. So I like him over 66.5. I like about 1 unit there.
1 unit?
1 unit.
All right, 1 unit. I am also going to go the rushing route, which I don't know if that means it's a good thing or a bad thing that, Reed, you and I both tonight will be texting about how much ground the Chiefs are going to be gaining on the ground. But I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes. He only ran for 5 yards in week 1. But I sort of tend to think the same thing as you, Reed, where maybe he gets flushed. Maybe things open
out of the
up.
pocket.
Maybe he gets flushed out of the pocket. He's got to scramble. He's got to make things happen with his feet. And the more you scramble, the more you start to see opportunity that maybe you hadn't seen if you had to be that true, typical, prototypical pocket passer. So I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes over 16.5 rushing yards. It's sitting at minus 130 right now. All of these lines that you are seeing, whether it's down here at the bottom of the screen or whether it's right there in the middle of the screen as the lower third, those are all DraftKings sportsbook numbers.
Yeah.
You may be able to get them a little bit different here and there as far as all the different books go. But that is a DraftKings number, over 16.5. That was live as of a few minutes ago. So over 16.5. The one other thing I'm going to say is I'm looking at the YouTube chat right now. I see Tyler Smith putting in there that he's taking Purdue plus 1.5. Sean Spurlock, one of the co-founders here of Chatterbox, he's taking Cal. I think they're plus 11 against Notre Dame. That's one where maybe Notre Dame.
They gotta wake up at some point. Right?
I think Marcus Freeman and you're gonna probably have Drew Pine in there because Tyler Buckner got hurt this past weekend. Buckner's out for the season. Drew Pine's gonna be the starting quarterback now for Notre Dame. Eventually they're gonna right the ship. Eventually they're gonna get a win, and my guess is they're probably gonna get a win in a big way as 11-point favorites this weekend. Cal, though, for Sean is the bet for him to lock that in. So, again, I am looking for a pick out of the chat. A pick out of the chat that we are going to collectively – well, I don't want to speak for everybody else. I will take that bet, whatever the chat gives us, and we'll establish that before we go off the air. All right, Reed, what else you got for me?
All right, I got a few other picks.
Oh, just
for tonight.
We got a
just
few.
For tonight.
Everything for tonight.
I'm a gambler by day. You gotta win something or lose something to see where you should put it on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
You gotta get something in the bank or whatnot. So another look I'm looking at for tonight. I like the Chargers plus 4. I do.
Okay.
I like them.
You're high on the Chargers.
I do.
You're very high on the Chargers.
Yeah, they've got a great defense. They got Justin Herbert. They were a good team last year. They didn't show up every week. But last year, we talked about this in Tom Brenneman's show. Last year, they won in Arrowhead.
Okay.
Why not do it again off of the big win that the Chiefs had in Week 1? So let's do it again. Thursday Night Football. Justin Herbert, kind of a coming out party for him. Not that he's been like quiet for the past 2 years, but kind of
You
like
think he's better than Joe Burrow?
I think he's more talented. I think Joe Burrow wins a little bit more just because he has.
Boo.
Boo. We've got Casey over there.
Boo. Yeah, Casey. Yeah, well, he's got the Joe Burrow jersey behind him, too, and that's a tough thing to say on Cincinnati. You're not really endearing yourself into the Cincinnati area podcast listeners here.
Well, until Justin Herbert turns the ball over 5 times in Week 1, I'm still a little stung about that one. That one stunk. But, another one, and you called me crazy because we talked about this earlier. I like the under.
Well, no. I don't think it's crazy because
54 and a half?
That's a lot. No. What I said was crazy because I said 50. Well, it's 54 right now. 54
okay,
is
so
the 50,
money's getting on the under.
So the money, yeah. So the Chargers and the Chiefs right now, the total is sitting at 54. Here's the thing, and I said this to you earlier.
I'm locked in.
Do you want to be the guy that bet the under in this game? Like, Patrick Mahomes just threw for 5 touchdowns.
So. Yeah, you're right. That is the crazy thing. Like, I'm going to take the under on 2 of the most potent offenses in the league.
You just sold me on Justin Herbert. I'm already sold on Patrick Mahomes. And now you're going to sell me on the under.
I like this under so much.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. You told us about PointsBet and what they do.
I did.
Look, we were looking at all the different sports books, and he was telling me, gimmicks that they do in PointsBet. Obviously, I liken it to options trading in a way.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. You wager however much, and by each point that you either win or lose by, that multiplies your bet. And I liked this, so I was like, I might test the waters on this whole PointsBet thing and take the under. But then I just imagined a world in which they go to OT, similar to the Bills Chiefs game in the postseason last year, where they're just running up and down the field. And next thing you know, I'm losing hundreds and hundreds of dollars just because I like the under, and a game got a little bit out of hand.
So you're taking the under in this?
I will not talk about a bet that I won't take here on this show. So I'm taking all 3 of those. I'm taking the over on the reception. I'm taking the Chargers +4. I'm taking the under.
Oh, it's Chargers +4. Okay.
And then I'm taking Clyde Edwards.
So you are putting your money where your mouth is on Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's the problem though, is if you're going to talk about Justin Herbert, they didn't make the postseason last year, so then you have to adjust your expectations coming into this year because all we ever heard is how good they are. And now coming into this year, after not making the postseason last year and coming very close to doing that, now you have a chance to prove it.
Listen, you get 2 options
at Arrowhead.
Here.
I want you to remember that. This is at Arrowhead.
And they won there last year.
Yeah.
So do it again. Run it back.
Okay.
Run it back for 6.
All right. Anything else that you have for me off of those 3 winners?
All right. You want it? Well, those are what they are. But the winners, the winner that I have.
Those weren't winners?
Those are just my picks. Those are just.
Okay.
If you wanted a winner.
All right.
If you want a winner.
All right.
You ready for this?
All right. Yeah.
It's the Ducks. It's the Ducks on Saturday.
Oregon.
Yeah.
We just listened to Tim Murray.
Yeah.
He is very high on the Ducks. They were at 3.5.
3.5 is what I'm going to get. What I got. And I like them -3.5.
I mean, if you're so high on them, you might as well just buy them up to 6.5. Just call it a day.
No. We don't. Tim actually made a really good point about buying points.
Yeah, no. That's why I had him on.
Right. He's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Better than me. Yeah. But the Ducks. Perception is so much in this sport, especially gambling, right?
Yep.
And when you come on first week and play maybe the best team in college football and just get railed. Like you're just blown off the tracks like the Ducks did. Perception's really low.
Yeah.
Really low. And there was a lot of talk about, who's going to win the Pac-12 this year. And they threw all these names out. Utah, Oregon, USC, BYU, right?
Yeah.
And
you're still buying the Ducks.
I'm taking the Ducks because I think that they just, they played the toughest team in college football in their that team's home state, Georgia's home state. On the road, Bo Nix, first game, and here we go. Bring it back. I like him a lot. That's a 2-unit for me.
A 2-unit play for Reed Mouse for the Ducks at home.
So like $8.
Okay. Again, responsible gaming here on Not Too Picky. Let's go through. Do you have anything else for me?
That's it.
That's it. So
that's all the picks I got for you.
Okay, so you have 3 picks and
Tonight.
a winner.
3 picks
Is that
and a
how
winner.
you're always going to do this when you come on? Reed's going to be a regular on this first segment of the show. Are you going to have picks and winners, or are you just going to have?
It's gonna. I mean, you know me. It's gonna be different every time. We'll be.
I do know you.
We'll be flying by the seat of our pants through most of this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Case. Yes, go ahead.
I do want to talk to you about something. You know,
Okay.
you talked a good deal about baseball earlier in this show.
I did. I love baseball.
Albert Pujols, you said that you wish you would have taken him to
I
hit
wish
700.
I would have taken him to hit 700 home runs.
So
Yes.
how badly do you want him to hit 700?
How badly do I want him to do
Like
it?
you want it as a baseball fan.
As a baseball fan, I'd like to see Albert hit 700. I'm indifferent to what if he gets there. I'll watch it and I'll be like, that's really cool. If he doesn't get there, I will fall asleep and be fine.
You'll be good. Well, I'll say this: if you really are invested into him getting 700, hedge the heart a little bit. I think you can get plus 130 on him not to do it. On him not to get 700.
Okay.
Hedge that heart just a little bit.
No, I don't want to be that guy. That's negativity.
Hedge the heart, and that way, I mean, it's a win-win. You either get to see 700, and you were talking about how we're not going to see another guy hit 700 for some time. There's only been 3 guys to do it ever. So, like, don't act like it's happening all the time, and there's, like, guys in the pipeline.
Yeah, you're right. But if you look like back in the early 2000s, you could have looked at a guy that was young who was on pace early in his career, like Albert, or at the time, you could have looked at a guy like maybe Miguel Cabrera a little bit, but he was a
30 home run guy.
Yeah, he was
he
was never really on the but like
A-Rod.
early
A-Rod
like
was
Marlins Cabrera, like
A-Rod hit 500 home runs before he turned 30.
well, he was on pace, and then
They made him retire. They
sure.
made him retire.
4 short and 7 years ago. Yeah. So
Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, your favorite president, right? Well, behind Alexander Hamilton.
Yes, and Benny Franklin.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm on the train with Albert where if he gets it, cool, and if he doesn't, I'm not losing any sleep over it.
I will just say thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you?
Yeah, just for at least getting my name right. The Reed Mouse. Tom, if you're watching this, I filled in to produce the show earlier, and he called me Ryan.
Ryan Mouse? Well,
Ryan Mouse. Close. I mean, he got the,
I was thinking about just putting Ryan up there as the lower third and just rolling with that. You could do it as an A-list. See, when you win, you're Reed, and when you lose, you're Ryan.
Cool with that.
I think
Just my
that's
twin.
the plan.
There it is.
There it is, Ryan.
Mouse. Well, no, we don't want that up now, Casey, because we don't know if he's won or not. We don't know if he's won. We don't know if he's. All right. We are getting in here toward the end of the show, and we got to decide on a group bet. I haven't seen. If I can go back in this chat and find one pick that's been picked twice, that's going to be our pick. So Rick Broering says, moneyline UC, Georgia, Iowa State, Notre Dame, Memphis, and Texas. Oh, I'm assuming he means that on a parlay, because
What's your take on parlays?
on parlays,
Yeah.
I mean they're a lottery ticket. We'll get into more. I didn't talk about this at the top of the show, but one of the things I am going to do on this show is like a sports betting 101 series. So once every week, 2 weeks, however often it comes up. With sports gambling launching in Ohio on January 1st, it's going to go live at midnight. There's going to be 25 different ways to bet on your phone. There's going to be mobile sports books. There's going to be physical sports books. You're going to be able to go to bars that have kiosks.
Oh,
and now there's a maximum that you're going to be able to bet per week, but you're still going to be able to go to bars. You're going to be able to go to Kroger. You're going to love going to Kroger.
Kroger's going to be. I'm going to pick up my tickets for the.
Yeah.
What's Festival of Lights from
Yep.
the zoo, and then get a little
Kings
part.
Island.
Kings Island, do it all.
Kings Island, Festival of Lights.
Get 2 avocados and some oat milk.
What?
Kroger.
Oat milk?
Yeah,
Why?
that's what my wife gets.
Oh, okay. That's the right.
It's not like almond milk. It's just oat milk.
So you're going to be able to do all.
Milk them oats.
So we're gonna be milking you for winners. So we're gonna be looking at all of this stuff that's gonna be happening in Ohio on January 1st. So casinos, bars, grocery stores, and then also the mobile sports books. And with all of that launching, you're gonna be thinking to yourself, "Oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? I've never placed a bet before, but these guys are talking about it, and I see the lines all over the place. I don't know what minus 110 means. I don't know what plus 110 means." there will be episodes that explain all of that. I'll bring on an MLB expert. I'll bring on a college basketball. I'll bring on sports specific people to talk about each sport, to break it down to trends, what to look for, what not to look for, what's important, what's not important. Have conversations about that because I think it's important. If you're gonna risk your money,
Sure.
If you're gonna risk your money, if you're gonna work all day, if you're gonna work for the man all day, and then you're gonna decide that I'm gonna trust my money in the hands of 19-year-olds going out there on the field, at least do it in a smart way. And that's what we're trying to help you with here on Not Too Picky.
Casey, have you ever placed a bet ever?
Oh, don't put him on the spot. His dad's listening to this.
Hey, I have never actually placed a bet because it's not legal in Ohio.
There you go.
There's the right answer.
That's the right
Obviously.
answer.
That's the right
There's the right answer.
That is
He seemed a little facetious, though. I'll tell you.
But-
I think he knows his dad's watching.
But I will say this: as soon as January 1st
Ooh.
hits, you might see some bets on my
Little
end.
sprinkle. Little sprinkle.
All right.
Sprinkle.
All right. Okay. So so that's something that we are going to do. We're going to do that as like an educational opportunity for sports betting as this goes along, but that'll be down the line. Okay. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at the chat read. Let's see if there's anything that's been put in here twice, and we'll take that. I see a lot of different picks. I see Nevada covering 23.5 against Iowa.
I suggested Toledo money line, and no one got on board with that.
Toledo, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay, good pick. They don't even offer the money line, so that's a good pick. Purdue 1.5. Tyler Smith. Purdue.
They've got to offer it for the dog.
No, or at least not on DraftKings, dude. It's like a 40-point line. I didn't. What is the line on Ohio State this weekend? Play guess that line. No, don't look. What is it?
32.
32. It's
32.
32. No. Okay, Chicago Daily Review, Arkansas State plus 14. Lions from John Gowie, minus 1.5. Rick Broering, Bengals team total over 24.5. I don't hate over 24.5 for the Bengals this weekend against the Cowboys. I mean, look at what they did this last weekend, and they turned the ball over five times. So you have to assume that Joe Burrow
Against
is
a better
now
pass
out
rush.
of the preseason and is going to have a better opportunity to put points on the board. I think we just need to make an executive decision here on our group bet for this weekend's football affairs. And what are we gonna say? Let's pick one here, Reed. You're with me. You'll be with me on this. Let's pick one.
I like the Bengals over.
I like the Bengals one too.
Bengals team total over 24.5.
I think that's what we should do.
All right, we don't have a graphic for it yet, but we're gonna lock it in. I have
Minus 110.
Oh yeah, good point. Let's take a look here. Bengals. And while we do this, I do have one other pick. I couldn't do my first show.
Oh gosh.
I couldn't do a first show. You've given a winner. Tim Murray's given me a winner.
Yeah, I need winners.
I've talked about. I couldn't do my first show and not give a game. So we're gonna give a game right now before we finish off the Bengals. Western Kentucky going to Indiana. This is gonna be at 12 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. Western Kentucky 2-0. Indiana, they were dicey. I think they played Idaho. And they danced around, got the win. Indiana 6.5-point favorites. I'm taking Western Kentucky. I'm taking the Hilltoppers on Saturday at Indiana. That is my pick here to start off this show. Western Kentucky plus 6.5.
Is Mike White still there?
The more and more Reed Mouse is on this show, the more and more you're going to learn about the trials, tribulations, and successes of the career of Mike White. Look at that. Look at that. Western Kentucky. Flash it up on the screen. It's highlighted
Casey
green.
worked on that for 3 hours.
Casey loves that highlighted green.
It looks good.
Listen.
It's in the money.
That graphic right there only really took like 5 minutes, but I couldn't decide how I wanted that thing to look. So I spent like maybe 3 or 4 hours. You guys know how long it took, but inevitably it looks good.
Was the
I think that's
now let's ask. Let's
Everybody
ask.
give Casey a round of applause for all his hard work.
Is the juice worth the squeeze, Casey? Was the juice worth the squeeze?
Well,
I 100% think
We
the
don't-
juice was worth the squeeze on this, guys.
Yes, it looks great.
That is the not too picky pick right there of the day.
Look, we have on this show plenty of opportunities to make picks throughout the next, decade that this show is going to run?
At least 15 years.
At least 15 years.
Until someone hits 700 home runs.
We will do this show. You can mark it right now. Reed and I and Casey and Brandon and Trace, we will go to our grave with this show being produced. Until somebody hits 700 home runs in their career.
I hope Albert doesn't do it in the next 2 weeks.
And then it'd be a short-lived show.
It'd be good.
If Albert Pujols hits 700
work on the next
home runs,
project.
This was the quickest show ever produced. Podcast form.
I mean, it didn't get picked up for the second season.
Okay, everybody, we've rambled on long enough. Thank you all for watching. Western Kentucky over to cover against Indiana. That's Reed Mouse. I'm Paul Fritchner. Brandon Sejo's over there. Casey McAllister is over there. We will be back on Monday to recap the weekend. We'll talk more about some of the midweek games for next week in college football. We'll talk about the winners and losers from our picks this weekend. The Bengals over 24.5 team total. That is the chat's pick for this weekend. Thanks for watching, listening, everything else to Not Too Picky. You can listen. Again, it will be available. The recording will be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Give me some Pocket Casts. Where do you listen to your podcast, Reed?
Chatterbox Sports.
Chatterbox Sports. This is available on chatterboxsports.com as well. Anywhere that you want to listen to your podcast, it'll eventually be available there. Apple Podcasts probably today or tomorrow. Have a fantastic weekend. If you're going down to Oktoberfest, be safe. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you right back here on Monday with Not Too Picky.